So speaking of inspiration, it is now my absolute pleasure to introduce Sunne Wright McPeak, the president and CEO of the California Emerging Technology Fund, or CETF, as we've come to know it. CETF is a statewide nonprofit foundation whose mission is to close the digital divide by accelerating the deployment and adoption of broadband. With McPeak's vision and drive, CETF has positioned California as a national leader in advancing digital inclusion, developing and launching groundbreaking initiatives such as the Digital Literacy Executive Order, School2Home, California Telehealth Network, and public information campaigns such as Get Connected, Internet for All Now, and the Digital Equity Bill of Rights. Please join me in welcoming a most inspirational woman and someone that I try to keep up with, Sunne McPeak. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew. It is always such a pleasure to meet with, confer, collaborate, and conspire with Lisa Andrew. And we are conspiring all today in our collaboration to achieve academic excellence for every student. Every student in San Jose, every student in Silicon Valley, every student in California, because we actually know every student can excel. It is our job to support our educators so they can teach and our children can learn. Our parents can be engaged to support their children, and we can have the most vibrant, productive, diverse economy, community, and a celebration of achievement among all of us. We at the California Emerging Technology Fund are absolutely thrilled to see the amazing work that the Silicon Valley Education Foundation not only has done in the past, is doing, and then absolutely drank the Kool-Aid with us and said, we're going to advance School2Home. When Dr. Andrew took the position at the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, we had the opportunity to meet and explain the background of how did CETF come to be a partner in San Jose schools with the School2Home program. And I think it's worth explaining that background because it also goes to leadership and people who step up at the right time. CETF has been around for now 14 years. It was the California Public Utilities Commission who directed the establishment of the California Emerging Technology Fund out of mergers, corporate consolidations in 2005. So CETF really was the brainchild of the Public Utilities Commission. They have no say in what we do. They directed an establishment of the not-for-profit organization. And then we have designed a set of strategies to close the digital divide. That was their one directive as a mission: go close the digital divide in California. We determined early on that a school-based strategy was going to be essential to permanently closing the digital divide for the state. That meant we had to work with a whole lot of stakeholders, educators who knew how to get the job done. School2Home was developed out of research, what works in the effective use of technology in teaching, learning, and parent engagement, and then designed by a very robust set of stakeholders that included the California Department of Education, Access, CTA, all of the software developers, all the hardware developers, specialists in engaging families, specialists in working with students with disabilities and other learning challenges. And that became the School2Home program that we began implementing in 2009, first with beta schools and now with a broad set of partners. Along the way, one of our founding directors on the board of CETF, Jim Kirkland, who lives in San Jose, today is general counsel to Trimble. he was an early champion of School to Home, and he kept saying, we have to do School to Home in San Jose. He and Mayor Liccardo put their heads together, and they came and said, what can we do in San Jose? And at the time, we had a little bit of money left over from the initial seed capital that established the California Emerging Technology Fund. And so we made a commitment in San Jose. It was the Silicon Valley Education Foundation and the mayor's office who decided we can do 2 pilots or programs in San Jose. They selected Alum Rock and Fisher Middle School, and then Bridges Academy in Franklin McKinley. And I want to do a shout out to those school leadership teams who are here. Crystal Madrid is here again at another School to Home Leadership Academy from Fisher. And that worked pretty well. Then the city of San Jose also established the Digital Inclusion Partnership Fund and appointed an advisory board. And Dr. Andrew agreed to serve on that advisory board for digital inclusion grants to community organizations. That seemed to me to make sense then, and I had the opportunity to sit with Denise Williams at a Silicon Valley Education Foundation gala. We chatted, and it occurred to me the best thing CETF could do is to partner with the Silicon Valley Education Foundation to lead School to Home. Now, we're still here supporting. We are going to be your ally. We have to go get a whole lot of money, and just everybody know that we're meeting today on a limited budget, but that's not going to in any way limit our horizons, because we're going to work together to secure adequate investments in education, implementation of School to Home in Silicon Valley. So that story I wanted to share because I wanted you to understand that when I realized that we have the Silicon Valley Education Foundation as a partner, and Dr. Andrew attended a leadership academy for School to Home a year ago, has been an expert advisor to us, said this makes sense. We took that opportunity, and we are so delighted that you are now leading it. I too want to shout out to Denise Williams and your team for doing the planning, V for doing all of the organizing. Rosemary Kamei represented the foundation this morning on an advisory committee meeting when we did round 2 recommendations on grant awards for the Digital Inclusion Partnership. But early on, when the city of San Jose came to CETF and said, would you help us with the Digital Inclusion Fund and grants, we advised that long-term strategy had to be education-based. We had to have a long-term school-based engagement for the city to achieve what they want with digital inclusion. And really unanticipated, unexpected. We all went through this last year of a trauma of the pandemic and shelter in place. The city council immediately recognized we need to get all school children connected. Everybody scrambled. The Silicon Valley Education Foundation, I think, Lisa, you called me like 2 days after and said, what are we going to do? And that was really, really welcomed. The Santa Clara County Office of Education, Dr. Mary Ann Dewan, who will speak tomorrow, was immediately engaged. We've got school leaders who have joined us today. I had the opportunity just a couple of weeks ago with Eastside Union High School District trustee Lorena Chavez to strategize around how the high school district with all of the elementary districts and the Eastside Alliance can step up even more. You will hear from Charlene Tatis, who is the program director for the San Jose Digital Inclusion Partnership later. And I mention this because we have the intent to purposely plan to integrate what we do with School to Home with the Digital Inclusion Partnership in San Jose. This is a beginning conversation, and it is going to be a very productive couple of days. You will hear about the School2Home 10 core components, again, all rooted in research. We need a comprehensive approach because schools who are teaching and serving students in lower income communities have to be mindful of the multitude of challenges that students and their families have in order to be able to just focus on learning. We cannot be short-sighted about what it takes to intervene and achieve academic excellence when children have so many other things going on in their lives. You will hear from, and I want to salute my colleagues who lead the School2Home team, headed by our executive manager, Agustin Ogales, and he will be introducing the rest of our School2Home team that works statewide. This is a great moment for the California Emerging Technology Fund. The convergence of all this energy and leadership is amazingly, I think, accelerating what we can do in the state. As Dr. Andrews said, this is a moment in time in which we've got new attention from the federal government, new attention at the state. We've got the success that has built locally, and we want to take all of that to a whole new level of achievement. And speaking of partnerships, we at the California Emerging Technology Fund are very focused on results, outcomes. That's what we measure ourselves to. We look at best practices for the inputs, and that's what the 10 core components of School2Home are about, but it's accountability ultimately for achieving outcomes that we focus on. And in doing that focus on outcomes, we have had a statewide survey on broadband adoption that we have sponsored since 2008. Most recently, the independent manager for that survey and our research partner is the University of Southern California. USC immediately stepped up when the University of California, Berkeley, decided they no longer had the capacity to do it. And we have been releasing results from that 2021 statewide survey in 3 waves. The most recent was just yesterday to focus on the school data. And that analysis has been done by the Annenberg School of Communications, Dr. Galprin, who has led that team, but in partnership, in this case, on the school data with the Rossier School of Education at USC, headed by Dean Pedro Noguera, who was once on the CETF board of directors and is now back on our board of expert advisors. And he literally volunteered and didn't give much choice to Dr. Stephen Aguilar. Said, Stephen, you're going to be assigned to work with CETF and School2Home. And Dr. Aguilar stepped up and did an amazing job of analysis also on the data. You will hear also from our independent evaluator for School2Home, the Materi group, and Cheryl Lemke is also joined as part of the School2Home statewide team to be a participant in this conference.